Hey everybody, welcome to The Remedy. I am your host, Tony Pentelarusco, and you're listening to us live. Well, actually, you're kind of listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. I did the show earlier, and what happened was we had a power outage, and it took out Audacity. For some reason, Audacity didn't work properly, and I don't know how to work this thing. I tried to save what I did record, and it didn't save it, and it couldn't read the drive, and I said, what the heck? So anyway, I'm going to have to redo the show. So I'm going to talk about the same things I talked about on the show. So you're not missing out anything. Basically, when we're talking about recovery, the recovery factor now is going to be, you're going to have to modulate your recovery based on where we're at today. You have to understand that what we're doing today in regard to recovery is going to be impeded dramatically by a ton of different factors that we never had to deal with before. Zero. You got to remember something. Every decade after 1950, 1960, became more volatile with what they were putting in the system in regard to the different things that they had done. My generation, those from us born in the 50s, we were the initiated with the nanoparticulates such as diatomaceous earth that they put in the food supply. And all the wonderful nuances that created, the cancers it created, the autoimmune disorders it created, the cellular disruption it created, the DNA damage it was doing, the genetic damage it was doing, the lupus it caused, the restless leg that it caused, a whole host of things that went on that, again, at the time we weren't aware of because, we were told that this was okay and safe. But when the actual research was done on it, then the alternative industry decided to take it on and put it and sell it as a safe product, and knowing full well that we don't have any means to break down silica. Anybody who's selling you a product today saying that you can absorb the silica is full of shit. End of story. I can talk like this now because I'm not on the open airway, so I'm going to be very salt of the earth here so you get what I'm saying. Anybody that's selling a lot of these products in the health food industry, I'd say 95% of this industry today is nothing but a bloody prostitution. It's nothing but a scam, most of it. It used to be a decent and reputable and moral and ethical place to go and get things. In my day, we used to get stuff and then we would be able to recover from whatever we took because we could go to getting decent supplements that had actual product that actually worked because it had the actual component without the impediments of these excipients and crap they put into them. Today, when you're buying any supplement, the thing you need to read and understand is the excipient. They will okay, let's take a hard look of how this industry works. You will buy books like Life Extension magazine and other Alive and all these other different magazines that will propagate the wonders of a product. It's going to put a red S on your chest. It's going to give you blue underwear. You're going to leave tall buildings. Bullets are going to bounce off. You're going to have X-ray vision. You're going to be sexier. You're going to have a tighter butt, bigger willy. A sexier flower, nice compact breasts, the whole 9 yards, because it's all being sold on You're going to live longer, you're going to age slower. These are the catchphrases that you're hearing. And I'm not saying some of these things can't do that. Some things can actually do that. Some things do have an anti-aging process. Some things have a genetic protective capacity. But here's the but. But if you add some of these excipients in some of these products, you neutralize or negate any positive effect that you could be getting from these products. So as a result, you're being sold a product that is now inert, dead, non-functioning, or in fact DNA and genetic damaging, or reorientating. And this is something that we have to look at. Even some of the things that like apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar, the research that was done on apple cider vinegar was actually borrowed from white vinegar. When you look at the white vinegar research, you will see how powerful white vinegar is. And they came up with the idea of adding the mother into it because they were using the skin, part of the skin, in the fermentation process. Now, the fermentation process also is breaking down nanoparticulates, nanometals, nanobiology, synthetic biology that's in that skin. And you can do your own evaluation on it by taking the mother and putting it under a scope, and you will see all kinds of wonderful alien life forms happening there. I tell people, if you're going to get an apple cider vinegar, get a filtered vinegar. Get a distilled vinegar. At least with the distillation process, you are going to remove the particulate matter that could cause genetic damage in the body. Nobody is talking about DNA structural damage or reprogramming or genetic reprogramming. Nobody's talking about this because they've got you, again, thinking in terms of 1960, 1970, with these products being what they were back then, which had validity back then, does not have that same validity today. So when we're looking at some of the things that are going on today, vinegar is a good component to use on any form, and any different types of vinegar that are out there. It doesn't have to be the apple cider. It can be all kinds. It could be red wine vinegar as long as it's been distilled. It could be pineapple vinegar, coconut vinegar, balsamic vinegar, anything that has had a purification to it, because the gut requires acetic acid. The intestinal tract requires acetic acid. It requires propionic acid. It requires butyric acid. It requires lactic acid. So a lot of these components that they're selling and propagating today is not going to help you get better, because some of these things are loaded with the particulate matter that isn't there. And nobody is looking at this correctly like they should. Nobody's ascertaining these things like they should. And when these things get into your system, they may not show an initial effect or impact, but they will translocate throughout the body and then start assembling throughout the system once they get hit with a frequency or an activation frequency to get them going. See, the way nano poisoning works is there's a saturation, there's an activation, and then there's the program operating in the system. A lot of you are having issues. I'm getting more and more people contacting me now about information on the triangle, about the bucket, about the detoxification process, because more and more people are beginning to wake up and realize that what they actually have. They don't have a Lyme. They don't have these yeast infections they think they have. They don't have these bacterial infections they think they have. They don't have these fungal infections they think they have. They have something that is continually propagating in the body, causing secondary effects. Cancer is not a primary effect. It's a secondary effect. The primary cause of cancer is what's causing the DNA or the genetic code or the cells to mutate. This is the thing nobody talks. We're taking antifungals. We're taking we're taking alkaline materials to alkaline the system, but we're not dealing with the cause. We're treating the cancer is what we're doing. We're treating the bacterial infections. We're treating the fungal infections. We're treating the yeast infections, the viruses, the microbes, the parasites. We're treating those. You have to get them out. This is true. But the point is, if you don't remove what caused it in the first place, you're going to get it to come back. How many of I've said this many a time, how many have treated yourself and all of a sudden you had the same symptom come back in a short period of time? Because you never dealt with what caused it. And this is something that you have to evaluate. This is something you have to look at. Think of it this way. If 1960 was the starting point, which it really wasn't, but this is when they started initiating new imperatives in their food supply, new imperatives in our supplements and everything else. When they started initiating these things into the food supply to cause the problems that they're causing, there was a whole new directive there that was involved. So now we have 1960 things were done for 10 years, 1970 things were done for 10 years. This is when genetics and microwaves and other things came about. 1980, we had other things that also came about. We started using microwaves, and not only microwaves, but we started using different genetic material in the pesticides. In 1990, we started using other components that started toxifying the irradiation processes that went on. The different soy that was introduced, the glyphosate content that was introduced. Every decade had a new component. Those that were born in the 40s had to deal with the DDT. They had to deal with 2,4-D. They had a lot of things along the way they had to deal with, but what they didn't have to deal with was chemtrails. They didn't have to deal with frequencies from towers. That didn't come until about the 60s when they started adding AM and FM towers along the way, and this is when people started having tinnitus. When those towers went up, people started hearing the ringing of the ears because they were picking up on the AM and FM frequency band in their bodies. Again, this was completely dismissed and never even looked at, talked about, because the undertone here was to keep people in the dark and to keep them coming for medical treatment that absolutely had no validity to it whatsoever. If there are things that go on wrong in the body, you may hear a high pitch or a high ringing as well, showing that indicating there's some kind of imbalance. But for the most part, a lot of the tinnitus isn't even real today. A lot of it's coming from the towers that you're hearing, your cell phones, your portables that you have in your homes, your AM and FM modulations, and any other thing that can put out an RF, EF, or ELF frequency. This is what you're picking up on, and this is not because you're hearing it. It's because it's being transmitted into your brain. Your brain is receiving these signals, and then it's emitting them as well, and that's what you're picking up. And nobody, again, is telling you these things. So now you think you've got a ringing of the ear situation going on, which is really a ringing of the brain situation going on. This is why I tell people, if you're going to meditate, wear a copper covering over your head. You don't want to be in a state of open reception because you don't know what's going to come in. You want to be able to modulate what you're receiving because you don't know what you're going to be getting, because it could be transmitted from some transceiver. And being that you are now an antenna picking up different frequencies, you're driving down the road and you don't have anything on, you like the peace and quiet, and all of a sudden you're picking up a television transmission or a radio transmission, songs popping into your head, television shows popping in your head. That's because you are now an antenna picking up and sending out. And they told us this in basic 8th grade education science, that we bounce frequencies off of us all the time, radio waves. So when we're looking at some of the things going on today, recognize that things ain't what they used to be. Okay, I'm going to continue on, hopefully without any interruptions. With all that we've been exposed to, with all the accumulation of things that we have over the last 5.7 decades, or almost 6 decades to round it up, everything that we've been dealing with has been a form of accumulation and agitation and activation. And a lot of the activation is coming from frequencies as a result. We were talking about tinnitus a little while ago. And to let you know that tinnitus really doesn't exist, as I stated, but what we're dealing with are frequencies that are activating our brain and turning on certain DNA sequences that, again, are causing or seemingly to cause health conditions to occur out of nowhere. When you are being diagnosed today and tested, I have had medical people contact me personally and let me know that the majority of those tests that you're dealing with are bogus. 99 out of 100 of those tests are useless. They're not going to give you any real indication of really what's going on in the system. And I concurred that a long time ago, realizing the majority of those tests that people were taking were not giving you any indication really what was really going on, but basically letting people know superficially because based on what they are testing and how they are doing the test is going to determine the end result of those tests. And in most cases, those tests are just basically indicating, and they're testing the indications to see how close to the normal parameters that are on those sheets. They're not looking for anything other than what is there. In other words, if they're testing your cholesterol, they're testing your blood, they're testing your white blood cell count, red blood cell count, if they're testing your nutrient count, that's all they're giving you. And they're giving you a basic ratio where you're at according to their basic standard. They're not looking for what's there. They don't know what a mimetic is. They don't know how mimetics can be formed through nanobiology, and how these mimetics can simulate a pathology that they, in their medical books, would immediately diagnose as a pathology, when in fact it is a synthetic biology that's causing these issues. I get people contacting me all the time telling me how they got Lyme, and I keep telling them all the time, you don't have Lyme. But this is the problem with most of you. Because you go to a medical establishment and because you get tested, you believe the bullshit that they are telling you. And as the end result continues, you follow that bullshit, and then you are forever taking these medicaments or whatever they're giving you, and you don't get better. Then you get discouraged, you get frustrated, and you give up, and you continue taking these drugs knowing that you're going to have to, quote unquote, live with the condition that you've been diagnosed with or prognosed with. And this is where all of you have to grow the bloody hell up on this and quit believing bullshit. The medical field has not, and I repeat, the medical field has not cured nothing since the 50s. Those from my generation, the 50 generation, or our generation I should say, know this. There is no cure, or has been no cure of anything whatsoever, just a lot of testing going on, and I'll explain why that is. The tests that are going on are to test us to see what reaction we are having based on all the bullshit that they've exposed us to. And this is why you're getting tested, not because they're trying to find an answer. They want to know what their experiment is doing. And they lead you with a whole line of horseshit, and you fall for it. And this is where you got to start using the gray matter. Look, God gave you a brain between the ears. Start applying it. God gave you 2 hands, 2 feet, and a heartbeat. Start using things properly and quit believing the medical field. They offer nothing other than a performance. They are performing for you, in a theatrical way, to show you or display to you that they're doing something, when in all reality nothing is being done other than you're following some dictation that they're putting there. And if you don't pass the grade, you feel like you failed, and oh my gosh, well, I've got this, oh, what am I going to do? And this is where you go. On my website, I have information on nanobiology, nanotechnology, the synthetic biology. I'm going to be doing more work on synthetic biology so that you can wake up and recognize what you're being exposed to. You have to get into 2018, not 1918. 1918, in the early part of the 19th century, they were releasing pathologies, biological agents that they were, again, developing in the lab. Now they have gotten more sophisticated, and now they're creating these anomalies in your system using a nanobiological means to do this. You're integrating programming with biology, and now you can affect the outcome. It's no different than the transgenetics and the epigenetics that we are dealing with today in our food supply. By them putting in specific materials in the gene pool, they can actually have these plants produce their own pesticide. The plants never did this before. They never manufactured their own pesticides. So how is this being done? By inserting nano programming into the genome or into the seed pod. Okay, then when it activates those proteins and the DNA, this now integrates with the DNA in the double helix, then starts to send those programs into the double helix. So now this seed will perform according to the program paradigm. Now they've taken that to a whole new level, and they've integrated this into all of us. And all it requires now is an activation of specific frequencies to activate that nano programming to integrate with our double helix to create the anomalies that we're dealing with today. All these lesions that are forming are basically using our own proteins to create the fullerene assembly that's required to produce the network that they're looking at. Some of you are having respiratory issues, some of you are having brain issues, some of you are having reproductive issues, some of you are having digestive disorders. You get the pattern. The basis of this is all based on the program that is being activated in specific individuals, and depending on where you're residing in any part of the world is going to be the determining factor of what they are going to access or direct for you to be hit with. Some of you are having bugs and things coming out of you. Some of those bugs aren't even bugs. Some of those bugs are basic creations, again, using this type of interface where you're creating a nanobiological agent to create this. We have pulsed. I was doing a seminar, or not a seminar, an orientation in Merritt, BC, and we were pulsing this non-alcoholic wine from Germany, and we saw the nano release, and then all of a sudden the nanoparticulates started to assemble and a bug formed. It wasn't even real. We kept pulsing the thing, and finally it again scrambled it, and it just shut down and just terminated or stopped its program procedure. This is going on in everybody. You know, and you're not seeing, and everyone's having a different manifestation because the experiment that's being applied is using different means to trigger whatever, so that you can't pinpoint the problem. The medical field today has no clue, and what they're testing for is not accurate. They're not looking at what a mimetic is. They need to start looking at what mimetics are, how they can be formed by using an integration of genetics with this nanotech. They are 25 years behind. They are never going to see this anytime soon. Unless you find a practitioner that has gone rogue, that is a maverick on their own, looking at this correctly, you're never going to find the answers. Don't look for guys that are just writing thesis papers or trying to get a thesis with their name on it in the scientific community. They will never give you an answer. That's just a waste of time. You will go in circles. Start with looking at what Gwen Scott stated. She was one of the progenitors on this technology. She knew what was going on. She had already a head start on it. Look at Brian 396 and his research. He's also is way ahead on this. Okay, you're not going to find too many people like him. You can look at my research. Him and I collaborated. There's no one out there right now that I can see or have seen that is at the same level that we are. There are a lot of people that are getting there. There's a guy in Montreal, his name is Dolph. He's right there, and he's looking at things as well too. So don't get caught up on these people that are still looking at this from just a simple specific pathology or biology. If that's all they're looking at, then they're full of shit. End of story. We are dealing with something so alien and so out of the ordinary in regard to what's going on, and with the transgenics and epigenetics that they are applying to create these pathologies. That if you're looking at the medical field today, all you're going to get is traditional methodologies in the way they practice and research, and it will not ever look at this. It can't look at this because it's not in their scope or range to look at. Okay, and you will be misdiagnosed. I guarantee it. You know, so when I'm talking about what I'm talking about in the long and short of this has been built up in our systems for over 6 decades. Started in 1960 when they started incorporating nanosilica into the food supply. And now, for your assignment, you are going to look at DNA damage caused by silica, so that you can start looking at what is really being said about this, and then looking at these progenitors that are promoting this element that isn't meant for us to have. It doesn't work. We can't absorb it. It can be assimilated in the cells, but then it starts to destroy the cells, causing genetic damage and stops any kind of cellular communication going on. A lot of cancers that were occurring in the 70s, when it started happening and started expanding in the late 60s, early 70s, was because the cells were not able to communicate to the DNA to trigger an immune response to stop the mutations that were occurring at the time, because the silica was blocking the transmission. These salesmen today, these gurus, are propagating anything that has to do with nano on a metallic level, on any level in regard to metals, are causing major problems. Anything that is being bound with either a hydrogel, which basically is like a pectin-like material or agar-like material that can hold water and then be utilized again to deliver a anything you want, medical, supplemental, whatever, or a liposome that's bound in the fat that acts as a delivery agent, will further carry these components deeper into the system, where they can then be released, absorbed either in the colon, which then will translocate through the body, or into the liver, which then will bypass the blood-brain barrier and infecting the brain, causing major manifestations of serious oxidative damage in the brain. A lot of the Alzheimer's and Parkinson's that we're seeing today, again, has been misdiagnosed. A lot of this is a direct result of nano exposure in the brain itself, causing high levels of oxidative damage. All these proteins that they're talking about, the amyloid proteins that they're talking about, the only reason why they are there is because the particulates are there, causing that reaction to occur. The brain is trying to protect itself from the overload or the takeover, and so these are the anomalies that are occurring. And again, they are not looking at that, nor are they talking about this. They're telling you that copper is lethal. Copper is not lethal. The brain needs copper to grow new stems for cells to attach to, so you can grow new brain cells. But they're telling you that the brains cannot regenerate, which is a lot of bullshit. Total bullshit. You can regenerate the brain, provided you give the brain what it needs, provided you give it the right minerals on a micron level, not on a nano level. Iodine will benefit the body. Has tremendous benefits. Every cell in the body has iodine in it to help protect the cell and keep the cell healthy, and to regulate hormones, and to regulate the immune system. Add nano iodine to the equation, and now you have a poisonous, lethal metal that's in the system, causing toxic damage throughout the body. Taking magnesium citrate, magnesium malate on a micron level has tremendous benefits. Take it on a nano level and it will cause high level of oxidative damage to the body. They do not work the same. They do not apply the same laws of physics, and this is where the problems are lying. Because once your immune system has been stripped from the mineral content, the bacterial content in the colon, then you are going to have problems creating a defense against this biotechnology. The glyphosates will disarm your bacteria in the colon, which will then not allow you to be able to utilize the folic acid. It doesn't matter what form of folic acid you take. If the bacteria in the colon is not there to process that B vitamin, guess what? I don't care if you use a methyl group or not, it will not work. I suggest all the time for the most of you, because you have been stripped of the glyphosates in the colon, and if you're not removing the glyphosates in the colon, like using things like sodium thiosulfate, for instance, or Epsom salt, or anything with a high sulfur content, then what's going to happen, anything you take will be absorbed on a minutia. You cannot absorb or convert those minerals to what you're supposed to what you need. Minerals will give you both antioxidants and enzyme production. If you don't have the 4 basic acids in the gut, which would also get stripped out, the propionic acid, the butyric acid, the acetic acid, the lactic acid, to be able to break these things down and to promote and propagate healthy bacteria, then and you have absolutely nothing to fight with, nothing to rebuild, nothing to restore, nothing to impact your system to regenerate and recuperate correctly. This is where we're at today. All the supplements are out there today that you're reading about, and all the wonderful things that they can do, cannot do anything if the gut is malfunctioning. B12 is converted in the digestive system in the intestinal tract with bacteria. So is folic acid, and so is B1, so is B3, so on. So without the healthy bacteria in the gut, guess what? You're not going to be able to utilize the B vitamins correctly. If the healthy bacteria is not in the gut, you're not going to be able to convert the zinc and the copper to produce SOD either. You're not going to be able to convert the zinc and the manganese, but because to produce the SOD for the mitochondria, because the reaction that's required and the chemistry that's required to do this is not there. This is the problem with the medical industry and medical field. The doctors and researchers are not looking correctly at what's the causative effect of why these things are happening. They're looking at the fact that you have a cause going on. Colon issues, there's all kinds of things that end with itis, diverticulitis, enteritis, and colitis, and so forth and so on, which are different manifestations of the same health condition at different stages, because the colon has been loaded also with smart dust, smart sensors, which is also being sprayed on the food supply, which is now no longer, it's not being stripped, it stays active in the gut, then it turns off the DNA as well, causing all kinds of malfunctions in the digestive system. So you have a lot of things that you have to consider today when you're telling me that I'm sick and I can't seem to shake this cold, because you do not have a cold. You have been afflicted with nanobiotechnology or a synthetic biology. You have to start looking up and understand that chemtrail chemicals are on a nano scale. And because they're on a nano scale, they can assemble and do anything they want to do. Once what goes up must come down, and if it hits anything on the ground, it will alter its genetic structure. It will embed in the genetic code, altering the DNA of the plant as well. You can scrub these things with a Brillo pad. You will not get that off the plant. It's embedded right into the code of the plant. There was an MP from Europe who also stated that these things that are up in the sky, the chemtrails, are neutralizing all the organics. The moment you can accept that we are no longer living in a paradigm of ethical and moral values when it comes to preserving mankind and the health of mankind, that's when you're going to start to heal. But until that occurs, and if you still continue in the traditional matrix propaganda, you're just going to spin your wheels. And I got news for you. There is not going to be a quick fix here. You can't seriously think for 1 minute that if you've been accumulating this stuff all your life, and I don't care how old you are, if you're my age, or if you're 30 years old, 20 years old, 10 years old, 5 years old, 40 years old, you have from day one been assembling these things inside you just by the fact that you were eating the foods that were fed you. Anyone born after 1985 has had absolutely no food safety. And as you can see from 1960, they had already started polluting the food with these components, adding them to them, and conducting their experiments every decade. This is why they were telling you, go to see your family doctor. They always used to push that very much. Go get your family, get checked up, get checked up, get checked up. Why do I need to go to a doctor to get checked up if I'm feeling fine? What do they need from my blood that they need to take blood out of my body? You see, it's all been a setup. It's all been there so that you will go and comply by offering your genetic material in the blood, by allowing them to take the test so they can see what they have released in the environment and the cause and the level and the stages of their development by you being examined. The whole thing's a hoax. The whole thing's just, like I said, the whole thing's just a smoke and mirror. And the fact that they now are forcing you to get vaccinated for a job is a basically denial of a personal right and freedom. And by getting these vaccines, you are in fact taking in nanotechnology or synthetic biology. There is no way to pacify it or call it what it is. Okay? You're being marked with this biotech or this nanobiology. And then when these things get active, you are going to have problems. I had a woman contact me. She said she had to take a shot for a job in the United States, and she hasn't been right for 3 months. Well, I guess not. You've just taken in something that's now trying to overwrite your DNA and your genetic code. See, you got to remember something. The medical field and the pharmaceutical industry will propagate a very positive message or positive twist on nanotechnology and nanobiology, how it's going to help you deal with cancer. It causes the cancer. None of them are telling you how this stuff is coming out of the body once they put it in. Have any of you heard anything like this? No. Once it goes in the body and it targets whatever cells it targets, it now continues to follow its, seek and destroy mission. But what it's seeking and it's destroying now is you. You don't need to wrap nanoparticles with turmeric. Turmeric alone will deal with cancer cells. So they've added a nano gold or nano silver or nano whatever with the turmeric, saying, oh, now if we add the turmeric, that's going to kill cancer. Right. You don't need nanoparticles with turmeric to kill cancers. Nanoparticles will kill the cancers, but it will also kill you too. That's the caveat here. They're going to shine a beautiful light on nanotechnology and nanobiology, and they're going to tell you how great and wonderful it's going to revolutionize life. It's going to make our lives better. We can use this as a better targeting method to treat diseases. It's going to be used as a targeting method, all right, to further target access to genetic codes that they can't reach right now, that they will be able to reach, to be able to alter the genome in the body. There is no benefit here. This is basically a weapon that is going to be weaponized against the general population. You can kill a population now, and they'll never know what killed them. In the diagnostic with the medical field, because they don't know what's going on, they don't have a clue to this stuff. Oh, the person died of a heart attack. Oh, the person died of diabetes. Oh, the person died of cancer. Oh, the person died of an autoimmune disorder. Because that is what it's going to appear like to a doctor, and he's going to validate or verify what caused the death, because that's what was turned on by the frequencies to simulate that condition. This is really going to blow a lot of you away and blow a lot of you out the door, but you better start waking up on this. You better start doing the homework on this and quit reading a Google bullshit and quit following these gurus who still are thinking that they're just dealing with a simple biological agent. These guys are morons, period. I don't have a problem calling a moron a moron. These guys are morons. They are still stuck in a paradigm because they can't face the fact that this stuff has evolved. And they've been evolving this for every decade, and they can't get their head around that, so they continue staying on to some sort of traditional paradigm, following whatever guru that they can get to justify this. Get over it. Start facing it. You can't run from this. There's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to run. If you're afflicted with it, and everybody is, then the affliction is in your body. Where are you going to go? Are you going to shed your body? Wait till 5G kicks in. 5G is going to hyperactivate a lot of you, and China right now is working on 6G. So where is that leaving the rest of you? You're feeling further and further behind, and you're feeling further and further hopeless and useless because you think, what can I do about this? Get off your ass, prioritize your life, and understand that you are being assaulted. And if you're being assaulted, then you better start looking at what you can do to defend yourself. Don't depend on your government. The government will schmooze you and kiss you and love you and hug you and make you feel all cuddly and warm. Oh, we're going to look after you. We're going to take care of you. All right, they will take care of you. They'll inject more shit in you. That's what they're going to do, just so they can take care of you. You ain't got time to be cuddled. You ain't got time to be whatever. You got time to start looking at this. It's what you got time. And you got time to start looking at ways to formulate a defense against this. You know, I'm not selling you anything. In fact, we've shown you on YouTube how to start defending yourself. I would sincerely tell you, start looking at those tubes and start applying, especially the nano, anti-nano triangle and the anti-nano bucket. They are going to be your best friends in this war. Until some of you can come along and improve upon that and make the anti-nano biotech that's required to take this out. You have to refortify your genetic code. You have to rebuild your genetic code. Okay, if you don't rebuild your genetic code after this decimates it, then you're going to be compromised because your DNA, if it's not working properly, cannot affect the immune system as is required in order for you to be protected. See, there's a lot going on. And again, and if you're still distracted with football, basketball, baseball, hockey, Days of Our Lives, cartoons, you know, soap operas, whatever you're watching, you're wasting time. Turn off the boob tube, because that's what it was called, a boob tube, for a reason. It turns you into a boob or a dummy, or dumbed you down. Start educating yourself, understanding yourself. Don't just look at those are protagonizing this technology, saying, oh, how great and wonderful it is. These guys are full of shit. End of story. They are selling you on a premise, on an idea how this is going to be so great, how it's going to make a difference, how it's going to allow them to do a diagnostic on you, a better diagnostic. We're going to be able to see things better, because the more they see, the easier it is to figure out how to take you out of the equation. Don't volunteer your blood. Don't volunteer your samples, you know, unless you've got something seriously going on where you broke a bone or something to that effect, you got into an accident and you need help, then and only then check these things, get checked out like that. But in regard to just giving your blood away and allowing yourself to be injected with some sort of biological or a nano pathology or a synthetic biology, to me is absurd. To me, it's just pure insanity that you're just going to volunteer and bend over or stick out your arm and let somebody inject shit in you, and none of you are asking to see the active ingredients in those vaccines. Why aren't you asking this question? When you're going to a doctor and the doctor says, well, I'm going to give you a shot. I want to see the ingredients. He says, well, I don't have them. Then chuck you Farley. Why should you trust these people? They haven't cured anything. Why are you trusting them? Oh, because they're a doctor. They're a doctor. These doctors are prescribing drugs. They're creating over 30 side effects, toxic side effects on every drug they're prescribing. They're not on your side. Why would any medical practitioner today prescribe a drug that's going to cause you over 30 side effects, and some of those side effects include death? I don't remember the Hippocratic Oath indicating that they should be doing this kind of behavior. Do you? Do you even know what that is? So why are you blindly trusting somebody to put something in your body without you even knowing what it is? Ask to see the ingredients. And if they're not willing to comply, then say you pass. Ask to see the ingredient. You read the ingredient list when you go grocery shopping. You read the ingredient list when you go shopping for other things to see if you read the ingredients on the chemical composition of things that you're using in your for washing your clothes or spraying a garden. Why are you not asking that question? See, you're going to give your child to a stranger who's going to take a needle and inject an aborted baby genetic code into your child. And some of you are Catholic. Whoa. Catholic, anti-abortion, putting an aborted baby into your children? What does that say about you? What does that say about your beliefs? Nothing. So, my point is, ask the damn question. You know, you have that right. If you are going to inject something in my system, I want to know what you're putting into me. That gives me the option of saying no. And it gives you the option to sue the medical practitioner that's injecting a lethal, toxic material in your body. They are violating, you know, they're breaking the law. This is a form of attempted murder. You may not think so. You might think this is a bit extreme, but you better smarten up on this. Give your head a shake. Quit watching the idiot box. Quit watching these commercials where you see some movie star dressed in a white overcoat and a stethoscope, looking very, very, you know, important, looking very professional, and indicating how you need a drug. And then they read 30, and then in that 30-second sidebar, they say, oh, the side effects can be blah, 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 death. And you don't listen to that part. You just run in there. Oh yeah, doctor, I need a shot. Oh yeah, I need a flu shot. What's in the flu shot, doctor? Can you tell me? Oh, you know, stuff for the flu. Can I see the ingredients? Well, no. Well, why not? Well, we don't do that kind of thing here. Doctor, if you don't show me the ingredients, you can shove that needle up your ass. You know, and you better start talking that way. You know, I think at that point in time, that type of language is appropriate language to use. If someone, like I said, is going to put something in your body or tell you to swallow a pill, don't just swallow the bloody pill. Read the ingredients. Read the side effects. And then tell the doctor, why are you trying to kill me? This is attempted murder. I'm going to press charges. You start doing this with the medical field, I assure you, you're going to see a change in the attitude of the medical field. And the legislators that are propagating forced vaccinations and forced medications on people, they should be removed. They should be, however means of removal politically, you know, impeach these people. They should be impeached. Okay, I just got done talking to a guy down in Australia through a consultation. He was telling me that there are 40 MPs plus an ex-prime minister in the country that are up for charges for treason. They were investigated. That should be going on in Canada, and that should be going on in the United States of America as well, and any other country, to investigate any ties to this kind of behavior. And charges should be pressed on these particular people. And they should be removed out of office, and they should stand before their peers and then asked why they were propagating or promoting these legislations to create a attempted murder on people, the innocent civilians, the citizens of the country. It's a thought. It is a thought. As I suggest, you know, don't just be gullible. Ask the questions. Ask the questions. Ask the questions. If you don't ask the questions, you don't get no answers. And if you are going to subject yourself to these things that are going on, and something goes wrong, okay, then you've been warned. And when you start seeing lesions formed that are forming geometrical patterns of geometrical circles, squares, triangles, zigzags, or whatever, you know you've got an anomaly happening in your body. And if they've injected you with these components, let me assure you, they have injected nanobiology inside of you, or synthetic biology. You no longer have the luxury to be entertained by the commercials on television to sell you on ideas of what appears theatrically and entertainment-wise, what appears to be a very important message, when all it is a means to an end to stop any form of life and life extension. You know, the whole thing about life extension is to, again, give you things that are going to help you promote and propagate your life. When the life expectancy on the planet is 69.9 years, a drop from 86.6 years, something is definitely wrong going on with the globe. Remember, we've had almost 6 decades in North America alone of the contamination of our food supply with nanobiology, synthetic biology, epigenetic biology, just genetics in general, adding, again, harmful genetically engineered or nano-engineered chemicals that they are spraying on the plant, which bypasses the outer exterior of the plant and goes right into the very core of the genetic code. You know, and then you are consuming them. Vegans, I feel the most sorry for, because they are eating in abundance all this vegetation that is saturated with this technology. Meat eaters will get it as well. I'm not going to exclude you in this. You will get it indirectly. Whatever the animal that you're eating, cow, chicken, duck, goose, whatever it doesn't process or filter out through the liver or through its digestive system, you are going to get as well. When you're looking at fruit trees, start looking at the fruits and start looking real close. Bring a scope, bring a 30x or 60x lens loupe or 100x lens loupe and put it on the apple. Bye Bye Blue Sky has all kinds of information on her page, and she took a picture of an organic apple, and you can see a wire growing inside of the skin, not on the outside but on the very inside. I've got pictures there as well where I'm showing you a banana, cherries, 2 types of apples, 2 types of pears, and they are nanobiologically impregnated, yep. You know, it's on the skin. You can't miss it. There are peaches you can see that I've circled, loaded with the silvery, shiny material, which you cannot wash off. And when you cut the peach, it's right to the core. All your berries right to the core. You're going to say to me now, well, what can I eat? You're going to have to learn neutrality. Go on my website, augmentinforce.com. There is a link there called Regenerating the Colon. It'll give you at least a head start or a guide to where to begin. You're going to have to continue eating the food you're eating, but you're going to have to learn how to neutralize them. And you're going to have to learn how to be farmers and gardeners in your own environment, whether it's preferably indoor. Outdoor stuff, if you're going to grow something outdoor, it has to be covered today, creating some kind of dome or some kind of covering to protect the crop or the plant you're growing from being overloaded with nanoparticulates coming down on them from the sky. No point in planting a seed that is non-GMO into a ground that's loaded with a heavy-duty load of glyphosates or other chemicals that then will, on their own, alter the genetic code of whatever you're planting. Keep that in mind. Nanoparticles coming down from the sky is embedding itself in the very core of the soil, integrating with the bacteria of the soil. If it doesn't kill the bacteria, it will, again, assimilate the bacteria like a biofilm. There'll be a reaction, and then there'll be a spreading or networking of this nanotech inside the biology of the bacterium that's in the soil. And then when the seed is planted, it then absorbs that construct that's going on. This is quite serious. This is probably the most dangerous thing next to artificial intelligence, which is even more dangerous than this insanity. And that's another theme for another day. But artificial intelligence, I will encourage everybody to start looking at artificial intelligence and recognize it for what it is. It's an extremely dangerous technology that's running the planet right now. Runs your banking system, stock market, your water supply, water table, power systems, your grids across the globe. And there is no man in charge of the artificial intelligence. It upgrades and programs itself. It is by far extremely advanced, and nothing controls it other than maybe an extraterrestrial or some demonic, which is one and the same. So, investigate. J-Tuck, AI is killing us. YouTube, go watch. Start watching. Start observing. If you're watching any sci-fi with artificial intelligence, pay close attention, because this is where the globalists want to take everybody in a Matrix movie-like setting where everybody is attached with a tether of some kind, whether it's a thread in the brain or some kind of chip on the hand or forehead, where you are now assimilated to this technology and now it controls you. All the so-called gurus like Elon Musk and whatever saying we need to put in some kind of safety barrier right now to stop any more problems that AI may cause. Elon Musk, it's too late. Too late. That should have been implemented at the very early stages when this was being done. And AI, because it can rewrite or overwrite its program and rewrite the programming that it has, would have rejected that on its own anyway. When they let AI go and they gave AI full autonomy to be able to upgrade and rewrite its programming, after the first or second upgrade, they said that the programmers would take 25 years to be able to figure out what it did. 2 weeks ago, the artificial intelligence did something, and they still don't know how it came up to that conclusion. Pay attention. The world has changed. You haven't. You need to get caught up. And I will leave you on that note. I also will tell you that on my website, augmentedforce.com, feel free to go there, check out the information. Feel to check out the catalog link. There is that as well. I do consultations, so if you do need help, I can help you. Go to byebyebluesky.com. Again, check out the site. She's got tons of information there. To remind all of you that at April 6th through 8th, we will be at the Green Show, helping people understand what's going on and hopefully giving you what we can give you to help you deal with it. Also to further explain chemtrails and what is happening up in the sky and the connection between all that we're talking about today. So if you haven't, if you're planning on being up at that time, pop on in and say hi to Suzanne and myself, and there'll be also Lorraine will be there, another activist, and some other group there also with a dome. So again, check out, get educated, get activated, start coming up with solutions. So anyway, till Thursday. Thursday we'll be doing another show. Hopefully we won't have any interruptions, and we'll see what we can come up with then. So till then, do your homework. Do your homework. All right, take care.